Hello everyone, my name is Sailesh Bhupalam. I'm a faculty of Public Administration and Economy at Insights IAS. Today we are starting Public Administration Analytica to help public administration students with solving some problems that they face in mains. Basically me and Manjunath sir at Insights, we take public administration classes and the classes are going to start on July 28th. People who are freshers who have not yet taken classes and people who have already taken classes both can get something out of this Analytica course. So we have designed it in such a way that you will be able to understand what exactly is the expectation of UPSC. So the plan of Public Administration Analytica, as you can see here, as I have given, we will discuss one question every day. We have planned, you can say, some questions in paper 1 and some questions in Public Administration paper 2. And the focus here is on building the skill of how to answer a question. So in UPSC mains exam, there are two aspects to the exam. First is knowledge and second is skill. So the knowledge that you develop is by attending classes, revising your notes, reading books, and that is just, you can say, the information that you load into your mind. Then comes the skill part where you have to use this information strategically to answer the exact demand of the question according to what UPSC's expectation is. So to be able to use that knowledge in the format of an answer, you can say you need some sort of a support or guidance so that you will be able to practice in the right manner and you will be able to answer questions. So that is the whole objective of this Analytica program. So how you will be able to use the knowledge to answer a question and to understand what is a good answer, what is not a good answer, and how to make an average answer into a good answer. Usually every student will start writing average answers in the beginning. Sometimes it is below average. Even if it is a very bad answer, it doesn't really matter. What is important is actually you have to start writing the answer and then make it better. Most students have this mental block in their mind that I'm not able to write good answers, so I'll not write them. I'll write when I'm good enough, when I've revised enough number of times. But that is not a very good way to approach answer writing, because we will never be perfect in our knowledge or in our ability to write answers. Only when we start writing answers and then we improve upon them, then only we get better at writing answers. So because of that reason, what I would suggest is start writing answers from day 1 of preparation of public administration. They need not be very good answers. You just need to start writing. They just need to be an answer. And after that, you can think about every day improving. 1% of improvement on a daily basis is enough for you to become very good at answer writing. Before we get into public administration in particular, I just wanted to give some framework in mains, how exactly things work in mains. Basically, I have given 5 UPSC mains. I have cleared all the 5 prelims that I have written. Manjunath sir has given 5 UPSC mains as well. Both of us with public administration optional throughout this entire 10 mains. So based on our experience, we have come up with some sort of a, you can say, framework to understand what is the expectation of UPSC, what exactly is the challenge that you face in mains exam. Here you can see a triangle that I have created. Basically, there are 3 components to this triangle. And the most important, actually, you can say the first part of this is the content, as you can see on your screen. So content means how do you develop this content to write answers in mains? You basically have to, you can say, do revision. Mains is a recall test, whereas prelims is only a recognition test. Recognition test, basically they have done a lot of experiments and you can say research on how human mind recognizes something, whereas how human mind recalls something. To recognize something, you just need an exposure of maybe 3 to 4 times of the material. For example, imagine you are looking at some sort of an advertisement for a new brand. You probably need to see that ad maybe 3 to 4 times. After that, you will be able to recognize it when you see it. But you will still not be able to recall the name of the brand. But if you have to recall it, you need exposure of around 8 to 10 times for a normal average human being. That means because mains is a recall test, you can expect by now that number of revisions is very important for you to develop content to be able to answer questions in a recall test. So what is important in mains is you need 8 to 10 revisions of whatever material you are studying. So then it becomes very important to make sure that you are not studying too much of material, because then it will not be possible to revise it 8 to 10 revisions will not be possible. So that is first thing. Second thing, now coming to, you can say, the 4 components of what exactly is content. What is the expectation of UPSC with regard to content? First is the most important part, actually you can say, is the demand of the question. The most important part in entire mains is being able to address the demand of the question specifically, exactly what UPSC is demanding, or you can say the question is demanding. You can say in the last 6 years, I've seen thousands of papers, thousands of answers, probably tens of thousands of answers. The biggest problem that students have is they are unable to answer exactly what the question is asking. They will just write something about the topic, because one of the major reasons is they don't know enough content. But that, yeah, you will develop it over a period of time. You will develop enough content. Second major reason is they don't have a, you can say, certain method in their mind to arrive at exactly the demand of the question, how, what exactly they are asking, how to address this question. So that is one major reason. If a person is, imagine you have to get, maybe you can keep a target of what, 900 marks in mains. If you have to get 900 marks in mains, and imagine you are getting 600, if you are way off from, you can say, target, there can only be one major reason, because you can say for this particular gap between 600 and 900, and that is you are not able to address the demand of the question. So all the other things in this triangle combined may help you maybe get 100 marks extra in mains, but that addressing the demand of the question part, this will actually, you can say, put you in the league. Otherwise, basically you are not in the top level competition. Addressing the demand of the exactly what the question they are asking in the exam is very important. So the examiner should not feel like you don't know what they are asking, but you have just written what you know. So they have to know that you know what they are asking, you know about the topic, and you have addressed exactly what the question is asking. That specificity is important. So to address the demand of the question, basically what you have to do in question, there are 3 words. You can say 2 are interrelated. One is the keyword. Everybody knows about keywords in any question. Whatever major words are there, you can say, other than grammar, you can assume them to be keywords. Second is the directive. Directive means there is explain, and you can say there is discuss, there is elaborate, critically analyze. All these aspects are, you can say, directives. And each directive means different things. You need to know what exactly each directive means to be able to understand exactly what they are asking. Imagine they have given elaborate or explain. You don't need to argue against the statement whatever they have given, and it will not give, they will not give you any marks for something that they have not asked. You have just written what you know. So that is directive. And the third is limiting word. Limiting means, imagine they are asking in the context of India, in the context of Indian society, in the context of maybe, you can say, tribal society. Particularly they are asking in the context of Indian administration or local government. So that means when they have brought in a context, when they are trying to narrow down the scope of the question into a particular area, that is called a limiting word. Every question may not have all these 3 keywords, but you can assume that at least directive and keywords will be there in every question. Limiting words and keywords are sometimes, indistinguishable. They will look like they are almost the same. So for instance, take a question. I'll just give you a broad question which is very simple from another subject for you to understand. Consider a question from history. Imagine the question says, discuss the contributions of women freedom fighters of 19th century to Indian freedom struggle. So here, women freedom fighters, 19th century, Indian freedom struggle, they are all keywords. And discuss basically is, you can say, directive. Discuss means you have to bring all dimensions with regard to a particular question. So when you bring all these 3 together, the question, demand of the question actually is asking the intersection of all the 3. For example, there are volumes that you can write about women. There are volumes that are you can write books, you can write about freedom struggle. And about 19th century, there are million things that you can write. But they are not asking about any one of them in particular. They are asking about the intersection of all the 3 circles, and that is the demand of the question. To be able to arrive at this demand of the question, you need to think methodically about what is the keyword, what is the directive, and what is the limiting word, and what is the intersection among all the 3. If sometimes there is no limiting word, then the intersection among, you can say, the 2 circles. That is how you address the demand of the question. This is the most important part in public administration, in general studies, in essay, in all aspects of writing mains exam. So this is, like I said, the most important part. That is why I took a lot of time with regard to this. The other things, they may not be as important as the first one, but they will still be important for you to, you can say, push up your rank or be able to get IAS. Second is organization of your answer. Organization means the answer needs to be structured. That means you need to, if it is a 10 marker, usually my suggestion is to structure it into 2 parts. And if it is a 15 marker, you can structure it into 3 parts. How can I split this question 10 marker into 2 parts? That should be your first thought process. How can I structure this? Okay, what 2 parts logically can I divide it in such a way that it will make sense to the examiner and will also address the demand of the question? So that is structuring of the answer. And dimensions. So usually you have to write dimensions on 80%, you can say 70% of the answer has to be focused upon exactly what they are asking. Imagine they're asking a question from unit 1 in public administration particularly. Then probably 60-70% of the question, sometimes 80% also, depending upon exactly what they're asking, should be focused on that only. But the other 20% you can still write, you can say 20-30% of other chapters which are interrelated concepts which will add value to this answer. So this writing extra dimensions, in periphery of the answer, so that it will add value, that you're basically showing your knowledge that you know about these interlinkages and somehow adding value to the demand of the question. You cannot write something which is completely unrelated, but you can still add dimensions from other subjects, or you can say other topics within the same subject as well. So that is dimensionality. And fourth point is prioritization. That means the points that you write in the answer, basically when you write points, sometimes what happens is when you look at a question, you're still thinking, okay, what should I write as an answer to this question? And then when you start writing, the first point is somewhat, so type of a point, average type of point. The second point is still average. And then it hits you that this is the point that I have to write. And the third point is actually a very good point. But then when the examiner is reading your answer, he will read introduction, he will read the first point. Then he will feel, this is not a very good answer. Maybe it is a 3-mark answer. Then he will read second point and his suspicions are confirmed that is not a very good answer. Then he reads the third point, then he feels, okay, he has written some good points, but he doesn't know what is important point, what is not. So he will make it maybe a 3.5-mark answer. But if you prioritize your points well and write the most important point first, then what happens is, then basically you have written the important point first and it creates an immediate first impression in the examiner's mind that you know what you're talking about. Basically you have studied the material very well and you know how to write this answer. You know what is the most important point also. And this makes him feel that this is a 4.5-mark answer. Then later he will see that you have not written all the other points. Then maybe he will make it into a 4-mark answer. Even if you are writing the exact same points, there will sometimes be differentiation in the amount of marks that you get because your prioritization of points has not been good. How to make sure your prioritization is good? You have to create notes in such a way that you will be able to prioritize the most important point first. And so it is like, it may make a half mark of a difference, but it is still important because half mark in every single question in public administration, basically, it leads to some sort of maybe a 15 to 20 mark difference in actual marks in the exam. So now we have addressed the content part. Now coming to speed and presentation. It is important to complete the paper in UPSC exam as far as possible. It is possible sometimes that you will not be able to answer every single question. 1 or 2 questions you may skip and still you may get rank. That is possible. But what I would suggest is try and finish the paper so that you will get that extra 2 or 3 mark edge also. Each mark in the end will count because each mark probably pushes you around 15 ranks if you can say in that particular area where everybody has got similar amount of marks. So now coming to speed and presentation. Presentation is an important aspect of, you can say, UPSC mains. In optional, it is probably even more important in most of the optionals. So presentation basically means your handwriting should be legible. It should be easy to understand. Imagine they are reading your answer somewhere, some letter, some word is not, they are unable to understand it. And then it becomes a puzzle for them and they spend some 10 seconds on it. Then they understand the word, but then they have forgotten the entire answer until, that point, whatever they read. So it actually, beats the whole purpose of writing a good answer. So that is why legibility is extremely important. And other than that, neatness is also important. The people who are reading your paper, probably in their 50s and 60s, they have already a framework in their mind about what is a good answer, who is a good student. If they see, very bad handwriting which they are unable to read, they will probably think you have not attended school properly, you have not written your cursive writing book in your first or second standard. So that is not an impression that you want to give. If your handwriting is bad, then you start working on it now, 10 to 15 minutes every day, start focusing on particularly presentation, handwriting, legibility, neatness. Now coming to, you can say, speed. So it is important, like I said, to complete the paper. And usually if you calculate how much time you will actually have in the exam, you will have 7 minutes for a 10 marker and around, like I said, 10 minutes for, you can say, 15 marker and 20 mark questions, 13 to 14 minutes you can have. I've given here 13 minutes because like I've written here 10-minute buffer in the end is, you can say, better. If you plan for, to complete the paper in 2 hours, 50 minutes, 170 minutes, it is much better than if you plan for entire 3 hours. You may have to bubble your register number. Sometimes you will get disturbed by the evaluator for something. All these things may happen. You have to plan for it and you have to keep a 10-minute buffer and you still have to complete the paper. So these are the 3 things which are important for you to be able to, you can say, score well. Even if you know the content very well and this all these demand organization dimensions, prioritization, if you are good at it, if there is a problem with regard to, you can say, speed and presentation, the content that you have will not convert into marks. That is what is important from the beginning, to make sure your speed and presentation are on point. Speed, initially it will not be easy to, you can say, develop speed. Like I said, because mains is a recall test, you should be able to recall. In speed there are two parts. One is being able to recall the point. Second is your writing speed. Writing speed is not very difficult to improve, but being able to recall the exact point at the exact time is very important, and that will take time. It will take, like I said, 6 or 7 revisions. You are good enough. 8-10 revisions, you are much better than everybody at recalling the right point at the right time. So the number of revisions will matter here for speed as well. Now coming to the last point, that is substantiation. So UPSC mains exam in optional and in GS both actually is a analytical exam. Analytical in the sense, basically their demand of the exam is basically analytical in nature. But today the exam is so competitive that there are so many students who are very good with analysis, and that means you will come to if you are very good with analysis, you will come to equal level of everybody else with regard to analysis. And how do you differentiate among those students who are extremely good? Then comes, you can say, the point of substantiation. To make sure you are at the top 50, maybe 5,000 students, you need, you can say, very good analysis. Among the top 5,000 students, if you have to get into top maybe 100, maybe 200, 300, then you need substantiation to be able to outcompete the very good analytical, students with very good analytical ability. So that substantiation means what? Basically, when you build an argument in your answer, you need to give examples. Examples are basically empirical evidence that I know some place or some time there where this has actually happened. You are giving proof for your argument. Then you can write facts. That means I know specifically exactly, this is the number and this is the place. This is basically what happened. IMF report has given this, Niti Aayog report has given this. When you write this particular fact, then what happens is they will know that you have built this argument not just based on what sort of you feel like, but you have built this argument based on, you can say, some solid ground or solid evidence given by particularly reports. I've given reports here as well. You can use the reports of government, international agencies, etc. to give evidence and strength to your answer, weight to your answer. And the final point is diagram. If you are an UPSC evaluator, think from their perspective, go into their shoes and think. If you are reading and reading and reading the whole day only text, then you will feel a sense of fatigue. To give a sense of, you can say, visual relief to the examiner, diagrams can be used so that examiner's attention can be captured, so that it is not lost in reading too much of text which is not very well organized. So diagrams will help you, you can say, improve attention of examiner and will help you easily communicate value. Communicate that you are able to actually, you can say, understand the question and address the demand of the question through diagrams. So you have more probability of getting, you can say, good marks if you use diagrams. In fact, if you see toppers copies, these are basically the dimensions that, you can say, they are covering in toppers copies. That is how they are able to get good scores. So this is basically, you can say, the orientation that I wanted to discuss with regard to mains. Now coming to public administration in particular, other than all the things which are already, whatever we discussed, which are already important for public administration, there is also, you can say, expectation particularly in public administration is optional. First thing is, public administration, they are expecting, you can say, not like a theoretical or scholarly type of orientation. They are expecting a practitioner's approach. That means practitioner's orientation or approach means, if you are in a position of making a decision, which you will be if you clear the exam, how will you use this concept to improve the quality of your decision making? How will you make sure that whatever you learned here will be useful for you and you will be able to improve, you can say, the outcomes of the policies that you are implementing and improve the lives of people that you are impacting? That should always be at the back of your mind. Whatever you learn in public administration, it will be used to help people. It will be used to improve outcomes of government. So that is the orientation that you need to have. Even if you have studied public administration so far, imagine you have studied some BA, MA public administration. It has a little bit of academic orientation, and here you need to shift that orientation to a practitioner type of orientation in public administration optional of UPSC. So that is first thing. Second, you need to have a simple type of approach. You cannot have a scholarly approach where you can cite some papers and too many, you can say, technical aspects. They are not expecting you to become a scholar. They are not expecting you to write books or publish papers. There is nothing wrong with it, but in UPSC, the expectation is that you will be able to use some research that has already been done to improve the outcomes for people. That means for government. to improve the outcomes of policies being implemented by government. So simplicity is rewarded as long as you have strong understanding and you are able to communicate it using simple words. It does not mean that you should not use any public administration jargon. You have to use it, but you cannot, you can say, just depend upon jargon to be, you can say, able to score well. It is very important to demonstrate good understanding using simple type of answers. We will discuss, as we discuss the answers, you will know what I mean by simple, you will know what I mean by, you can say, scholarly approach. Then third aspect is linkage between paper 1 and paper 2. So basically paper 1 here is, you can say, administrative thinkers and a lot of, you can say, abstract concepts are present, and in paper 2 Indian administration is present. This linkage means when there is a question on paper 1, we need to write an answer in such a way that we will be able to use examples from Indian administration, and when there is a question in paper 2, we need to be able to write an answer in which there are linkages to thinkers and abstract concepts in paper 1. When we link both of them, then they will have confidence that we understand what we have studied. That is why we are able to link it. If you can link it to Indian administration, you can probably link it to any problem that you actually will face in your own administration as well, when you become a district collector, when you become a secretary of a ministry, etc. So, and the last point, as we already discussed, facts and examples for substantiation are important in public administration as well. But there is one particular advantage in public administration. The facts and examples that you actually study for general studies can easily be used for public administration. This may not be true for, you can say, many other subjects. In public administration in particular, this advantage is there. You can in fact study facts and examples for public administration specifically also to some extent. Maybe 50 or 100 are enough. And same facts and examples you can use in GS 2 and 3 as well. So it does not require extra massive effort. I will tell you exactly how to do it in the progress of basically this program, whatever we are doing. But these facts and examples are also important for you to score well in public administration. So you have to address the demand of the question. I've seen most students make one particular mistake, especially in paper 2 of public administration. They will write a polity answer for public administration question in paper 2 because the question almost looks the same. So in public administration, there are very simple concepts. It's not very difficult subject, but the answers need to be a little more sophisticated. So for example, imagine you stop a person on the road and ask him about corruption. He will be able to give a 1 hour lecture on corruption, but it will be vague and it will not be very, you can say, sophisticated. It is very, you can say, the arguments that he makes does not have any weight, that is, so to speak. So basically, how will you differentiate yourself as you can say, somebody who has studied so much compared to somebody who has not? That is what is important in public administration answers. The concepts that you have studied in syllabus, how you can use to analyze a concept which everybody knows. So that is basically how you differentiate your answer, and you will be, that is what I have given here. We have to use, you can say, public administration concepts and at the same time real world examples to make your answer, you can say, a good answer. So this is expectation of UPSC, particularly in public administration. I also just wanted to tell you about the public administration optional classes that we take here. We have done so far, in the last 4 to 5 years, we have been taking public administration classes, me and Manjunath sir. And we take more than 300 hours of classes here, and we cover almost everything in the class itself. That means the whole point here is to make sure your effort is reduced as much as possible, and you will be able to understand most of the concepts in the class itself. It starts from 28th of July. This is for 2023 batch. The focus is on building conceptual clarity. Classes will be mostly interactive in nature. That means there will be continuous conversation going on in the class, which will develop the necessary thought process for you to be able to answer questions, understand what they're exactly asking, build interlinkages between all the concepts, etc. So this is integrated with answer writing. Every day you will also start writing answers to previous year's questions on the topics we have discussed. So we'll tell you how to, you can say, use previous year's questions, how to write answers, how to improve them, etc. And everything that you will actually need about, you can say, 80 to 90% of syllabus will happen in the class itself. The notes that we provide in the class is actually comprehensive. That means it includes almost everything, all the textbooks, everything we have studied, and we have made notes out of it, integrated into, you can say, one single notes. So this is about classes.